women's match of the year. And there were a lot of matches between the two companies, which is why I gave them two separate categories this year, because usually I wouldn't do that. But for match of the year, we have Tegan Knox versus Dakota Kai in the street fight from TakeOver Portland. We had Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose from Double or Nothing. Hikaru Shida versus Thunder Rosa from All Out, both matches for the AEW Women's title. The Women's Royal Rumble match, Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. Bayley and Sasha Banks from Hell in the Cell. Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley from the November 18th edition of NXT for the Women's title. And Asuka versus Sasha Banks from SummerSlam for the Raw Women's Championship. What did you think was the women's match of the year, Alexis?
Honestly, I didn't really have anything. Like, I just voted, I think, Io Shirai versus Rhea Ripley. Wasn't that on there? That was on there, yeah.
Yeah, from NXT a couple weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah. I just said that. I didn't even watch it. I didn't even watch it. I'm disappointed in, like, the women's division this year just because, like, last year was so good with the WrestleMania main event. Like, it was amazing. But it was because they had Ronda Rousey, they had Becky Lynch. Like, they only focus on 5% of the women they have, like WWE does.
Yeah.
And it's just disappointing to watch. Like, the women everywhere. AEW's women is getting better, but when they first started, it was horrible. Impact is really good, but, like, WWE is... They have to do better. They have to respect their women more, and they have to put them on the show more. It's telling that, like, me as a GM on Raw, on SmackDown versus Raw 2007, I can do a better job of booking the women than fucking Vince McMahon can, who has 30 years of experience. Like, that's telling.
I mean, the real women's feud of the year here is Trish Stratus versus Candice Michelle from the video game.
It absolutely is, and I think more people need to watch it. So
I agree.
But I think I honestly don't even know what will win. Like, I really don't know because of how disappointing the women's division has been. I'm not really sure what people pick. Maybe the Rumble, or maybe something with Sasha and Bayley. What was it? Sasha and Bayley Hell in a Cell?
That's what RJ voted for.
Yeah, I think people could vote for that just because of it's more relevant. The feud is very well known, so I could see people voting for that.
Yeah. Well, winning with 50.9% of the vote, 50% of the people, half the people that voted in the poll, voted for as the winner, Bayley versus Sasha Banks at Hell in the Cell, which shouldn't surprise you. I mean, we just went over the top 10 list a couple days ago, and that was match number 2. I don't think it was match number 2, but, you know, it was a great match. The reason I wouldn't put it number 2, like the second best match of the year, is for a few reasons. One, the feud was very good, but not at the level that it should have been at. They should not have done it inside Hell in the Cell. You know, I just thought it was rushed. They should have saved it for a different point, or done it at WrestleMania, or at SummerSlam, or whatever. That's what I would have done. That, and also the fact that their other matches that they had on TakeOver in NXT years ago were better than this one. Not to say that this was bad. This was a great match, but of all the other matches on here, I would agree. I think I voted for that as the women's match of the year. That just kind of makes sense. So that one with 50%, nothing else came close at all. Second place with 14%, which surprised me, was Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley from that November 18th episode of NXT, which again surprised me just because it was an NXT TV match, and all the other matches happened on pay-per-views or takeovers. So I was really surprised that came in second, but it was a great match though. So you came close with your pick, even though it was like a very far second. Third place was Asuka and Sasha from SummerSlam with 12.3% of the vote. Fourth place with 10.5% of the vote was Rhea Ripley and Charlotte from WrestleMania, which I think that was the second best women's match of the year, but that's just me, so I think that should have been a lot higher. Coming in fifth place, tied for fifth place actually, are 3 different matches with 3.5% of the vote. Tegan versus Dakota from TakeOver, Hikaru Shida versus Thunder Rosa from All Out, in the Women's Rumble we're all tied for 5th, and then dead last and 6th is Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose from Double or Nothing for the AEW Women's title with 1.8% of the vote. So yeah, Bayley versus Sasha won. No real surprise there, even though you voted for Rhea and Io, which I'm surprised got in second, but I guess, again, it's one of those things where it's a more recent match, so more people remember it.
Yeah, not much to say about that. I mean, I don't really care about the Sasha Bayley thing at all. Like, I just don't. Bailey has grown on me though. Like she grew on me towards her like the latter side of her reign.
I agree.
But not because of the stuff Sasha was doing. It was just because of how badass it was that she had that title for so long, and she just became more badass as her reign got longer and longer. But yeah, I don't really give a shit for that feud, really. The NXT stuff, like NXT's women's division, like you said earlier, is the best women's division everywhere. So yeah. I expect more from them, but yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully next year that we have more matches that we can say, okay, that was an amazing women's match. That's the match of the year. I didn't really feel like we had that this year. As good as Bayley and Sasha was, I didn't feel that way after watching it where I said, oh, that was the match of the year for the women. I didn't feel that way. I feel like it won by default. That's why a lot of people voted for it. Although it was a great match. I'm not going to discount them on that at all. Like, for example, I thought Becky and Sasha at Hell in a Cell last year was a better match than that. And I think that may have won for Women's Match of the Year. I'm not sure. But that was a great match. I think it did. I think it did, too. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure it did because RJ was pretty happy about that because that was like his favorite match of the year, period. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I didn't do Women's Match of the Year last year. That was included all in Match of the Year. I don't think it won, but it came in a close second. I'd have to go back and check. But it was a great match. Now, and my point being that it was better than this one. This one I just feel like kind of won because there wasn't many other matches. Rhea and Charlotte, I feel like probably would have won had WrestleMania happened in like the Thunderdome or with more fans because it was an awesome match, even though the outcome fucking sucked. That's a different story, and that's why it kind of ruined it for you. But it was a great match, though. So we get to the men's match of the year for WWE and AEW here. A lot of great matches. This one was way more difficult. No discredit to the women, but this one was a lot tougher because there were a lot of very, very good matches this year. Not one that stood out as being the best. I mean, one, I take that back, but there were a lot of very, very good to great matches this year. So we'll start from the top and work our way down, beginning with the men's Royal Rumble match, of course. That was a nominee, as well as, I'm trying to go in order of when they happened. That match, Undertaker and AJ Styles from WrestleMania 36, Kenny Omega and Adam Page versus the Young Bucks from Revolution of AEW, Walter and Ilya Dragunov from NXT UK just recently, the Young Bucks versus FTR from Full Gear, AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan from the June 12th, the 2020 edition of SmackDown for the Intercontinental Championship, Kenny Omega versus Pac in the Iron Man match from Dynamite, and Finn Balor versus Kyle O'Reilly from TakeOver 31 for the NXT Championship. So what'd you vote for, Alexis? What did you think won?
Oh my God, that Iron Man match, take my money. That's what I voted for. That was like, okay, I don't really pay attention to the wrestling, like when we watch it. I really like to watch like, oh, the entrance themes or like, what are they wearing? Like stuff like that. I'm more interested in that kind of aspect or the storylines or the characters. But when that Iron Man match was going, like, I could not look away. It was so good. And that's how I judge a really, really, really captivating match, is if I was amazed by it, like, forget it. It was good. So that one I voted for. I don't think it won, just because of how far away it happened. I don't even remember when it happened, but I remember how good it was.
It was right before Revolution, so that tells you how far away it was.
Well, exactly. So I don't think that won at all. I think the Royal Rumble or the Boneyard match won, because the Boneyard match won Match of the Year for WWE. So I definitely think that could have taken first place, also because of it was at WrestleMania. It was just a more memorable thing. Like I think it was the first cinematic match they did, or anyone did, right? Aside from like the Matt Hardy.
Yeah, it was. No. Well, yeah, the Matt Hardy stuff came after. So, of the pandemic era. Yeah. So that was the first one. Firefly Funhouse was the next day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh my God, that one was good too. But I think the Boneyard match won, or the men's Royal Rumble, because of reasons that I said earlier.
Yeah. No, I agree. RJ had the men's Royal Rumble match down as what he thought should have won for Match of the Year. So winning with 34.5% of the vote was what I voted for as well. Kenny Omega and Adam Page versus the Young Bucks from Revolution for the tag titles is the men's match of the year.
What?
Yeah, that was I agree with that. I put that down as my match of the year as well. So,
wow.
It was an amazing match. There was probably, I don't know, the greatest tag team match I've ever seen. Like other people said, people were like, "Oh, it was the greatest match in North American history." Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it was an amazing match, though. So I agree with that as the top spot. Number 2, actually, we got 2 matches in number 2, tied for 13.8% for both. The Men's Rumble, which was my WWE match of the year. I think overall match of the year is the tag match. My WWE match of the year would be the Men's Rumble. That's tied with Undertaker versus AJ Styles, the Boneyard match from WrestleMania 36. You mentioned that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
That was number 2. Number 3, very surprising, 19% of the vote went to Walter versus Ilya Dragunov from NXT
nice.
UK. Very happy that one got as many votes as it did. I figured, okay, it's NXT UK, no one cares. I mean, obviously people saw it because people were praising it. I didn't think enough people would fucking vote for it. That was the match of the year. But they did. They did. They got 19% of the vote, so that's pretty cool. In 4th place was Finn Balor versus Kyle O'Reilly from TakeOver 31 with 12.1% of the vote. We get to 5th place, 3.4. This is like the bottom of the barrel here. 5th place with 3.4% of the vote. The Young Bucks versus FTR from Full Gear. And then tied for last, Kenny Omega versus Pac from Dynamite, and AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan from SmackDown for the IC title, both with 1.7% of the vote. I completely agree. Omega and Pac should be a lot higher on the list. That was my big takeaway here. It's actually kind of amazing because I included, 3 AEW matches here? The tag team match won, and then Omega and Pac, which happened 3 days before, came in last. So I thought that was interesting.
That is very interesting, the fact that that tag team match won, because I don't even remember watching it. Like, I remember people talking about how good it was. But I mean, it didn't really do anything for me, because if it did, I would have voted for it. But I'm kind of disappointed the Iron Man match didn't get higher just because of how freaking good it was. It was so good.
Again,
that's what's cool about this, is that a lot of the men's matches are really good. So it's like hard to decipher which one should really be the best, for me at least.
No, I agree. I think with the Omega Pac one too, I was gonna say was that it happened on TV, and again the AJ Bryan one also happened on TV too. That happened on a random SmackDown, so that's probably why more people don't remember it or didn't vote for it. I mean, you remember obviously Omega and Pac. But it was on a Dynamite right before the pay-per-view, so I get it. But people definitely remember it. I'm just very surprised it came in last. Again, if there's so many great matches, I guess something's got to come in last. So I guess if Walter and Ilya came in last, I'd be pissed too. So it is what it is. But yeah, no, I thought that was cool. I'm glad Walter and Ilya was up there. Omega and Page versus the Bucks was my match of the year. The Men's Rumble should be high up there. That was my WWE match of the year. That was fantastic as well.